This isn't a fairy tale about market timing or a lucky stock pick. This is the cold, hard truth about how real, generational wealth is built. A truth obscured by the noise of the financial media, the hype of leverage gurus, and the frantic, fearful energy of the indebted middle class. We are talking about the silent assassins of the wealth game, the cash buyers. You see them, but you don't see them. They don't drive the flashy leased supercar that screams, "I need validation." They don't post the highly curated debt-fueled success montage on Instagram. Their power is invisible, their moves are non-negotiable, and their ultimate victory is inevitable. The question isn't if they win, it's why the rest of the world fundamentally misinterprets their strategy, mistaking prudence for weakness and liquidity for timidity. The core of the matter, the hard truth, is this: cash is not king. It is the ultimate veto power, the option of absolute finality, the sovereign instrument of the disciplined man. The common man views cash as an asset to be immediately deployed, an inferior vehicle subject to inflation, an opportunity cost in their fear-driven calculations, a necessary evil that must be quickly transmuted into a leveraged position before it loses value. This immediate deployment impulse is the first, most fatal psychological misstep, the surrender to the tyranny of the ticking clock. The wealthy, specifically the cash buyers, view it as ammunition, as optionality at scale, as the strategic reserve that allows them to move only when the terms are perfect, when the weak hands are forced to sell, when the market bleeds, and when the price is an insult to the seller but a non-negotiable investment for them. This strategic patience is not inaction, it is preemptive victory, a superior form of risk management. It is the power to stand outside the frantic dance of the indebted and watch the tragedy unfold, knowing you hold the only key to resolution. This is the identity shift required. You move from being a bidder, someone who is asking for a transaction, to being the sole, undisputed buyer, the man who dictates the terms of the surrender. The man who buys with cash is not merely avoiding a mortgage. He is buying time, buying peace, and buying the soul of the asset free and clear, separating its fate from the volatility and whims of credit markets. He bypasses the entire financial bureaucracy, which functions as an enormous, complex toll booth designed to extract wealth from the common borrower. The punitive interest rate games, the mandated appraisals that can kill a deal, the closing delays, the sudden tightening of credit lines. Every single line item in that financial gauntlet is a tax on the impatient and the illiquid, a friction mechanism designed to favor the institution. The cash buyer walks past the velvet rope straight to the owner, who is often under immense time pressure, and says, with quiet, unshakable authority, "The noise stops now. Here is the currency of finality. Take it or face the protracted pain." This is the ultimate display of financial dominance. The psychology of the indebted is a powerful and destructive constraint, a form of self-imposed financial servitude. They are driven by scarcity and fear, a relentless need to demonstrate progress for external validation. Fear of missing out, FOMO, pushes them into marginal deals and high-leverage situations, forcing them to bet everything just to keep up with a status illusion that is paper-thin. They are operating with a borrowed confidence, a financial house of cards where the margin of error is zero and which evaporates the moment the market hiccups. Their entire financial structure is built on a lie of steady, uninterrupted growth and the dangerously optimistic premise of uninterrupted employment. Their status is fragile, built on projections and liabilities, a structure constantly one required payment away from collapse. Conversely, the cash buyer operates from a position of abundance and absolute control, a power derived from having zero master. His status is internalized and permanent. It is the unshakable knowledge that he can acquire a significant asset today without consulting a single outside party. This psychological dominance is a competitive advantage that the middle class cannot comprehend because they have been trained to fear liquidity. They believe cash should always be working. The cash buyer knows cash's most important work is waiting for maximum leverage over desperate sellers. Economics is merely the elegant language the cash buyer uses to execute this psychological advantage, particularly through the exploitation of the crisis alpha. When a crisis hits, a severe recession, a housing crash, a liquidity crunch, the leverage players must retreat, liquidate, or default. The cash buyer, having been positioned defensively during the boom, is now on a massive, calculated offensive. His cash reserve, which might have yielded low single-digit returns during the market froth, now has the effective purchasing power of an asset returning 20 to 30% on an annualized basis because he is acquiring $1 of asset for 70 cents or 60 cents. Consider the economic mechanics of a distressed sale, a forced divorce, a sudden business failure, or a swift market correction. The seller needs speed, certainty, and discretion. The traditional debt-dependent buyer represents delay, risk, and glaring uncertainty, a high probability of deal failure, a 30-day closing contingency, a financing clause that can fail, an appraisal risk tied to nervous market comps. These are deal-breaking liabilities to a desperate, motivated seller. The cash buyer offers the cleanest contract in existence: instant certainty, zero contingencies, a rapid, surgical strike. They are paying a massive, implicit premium for speed and simplicity for the seller, an emotional and transactional relief that paradoxically often results in a significant, quantifiable discount on the asset's true market value. This is the ultimate asymmetry. Their liquidity is their leverage. The cash buyer's effective purchasing power is not merely the number on his bank statement. It is that number multiplied by the certainty, simplicity, and speed factor he brings to the table. This is why they quietly win. They are not competing on price in the retail sense. They are competing on transactional integrity and finality, a crucial category where they have no equals and where the stakes are highest. This method of operation is grossly and willfully misinterpreted by the world because the entire global financial structure is a temple built to the worship of leverage. The finance community, which thrives on originating and servicing debt, preaches tirelessly that leverage is the only path to rapid scaling because the system needs borrowers to function and extract fees. They frame the cash buyer as leaving money on the table and sacrificing higher theoretical returns for an irrational focus on safety. This is a gross, dangerous, and self-serving miscalculation of the wealthy man's actual long-term goals. The cash buyer is not optimizing for the highest theoretical IRR, internal rate of return, over a 5-year period. He is optimizing for absolute structural asymmetry, impenetrable resilience, and effortless generational transferability. His goal is wealth permanence, not fleeting paper gains. By removing debt from his assets, he removes the single greatest non-negotiable threat to asset survival, the required periodic payment that must be met regardless of market conditions. This is the fundamental difference between building a house on bedrock and building one on sand. His asset base is fireproof, stormproof, and recession-proof. It cannot be foreclosed upon. It cannot be seized due to a margin call, and it requires no panicked restructuring, allowing him to sleep soundly during market chaos. When the economic tide inevitably goes out, taking with it the highly leveraged speculators, the men who rode the boom to a paper fortune and lost it all in a month, the cash buyer's portfolio does not shrink, it expands. The leverage players are forced to liquidate their best, performing assets to cover the debt on their worst, non-performing liabilities, creating a cascading failure that destabilizes their entire position. The cash buyer, flush with dry powder and holding the position of ultimate strength, then steps in, buying the very assets the leveraged player lost, but at a fraction of the price, absorbing their future equity growth. This is not just a transaction. It's a fundamental, systematic, and moral transfer of wealth from the weak and impatient to the strong and disciplined, a recurring and predictable feature of the capitalist cycle. The man who uses debt lives in a house owned by the bank, performing labor for a creditor. The cash buyer owns the house and the optionality to buy the leveraged man's distressed assets, performing labor only for himself. The choice is between servitude and supremacy, between liability and pure power. Let's dive deeper into the behavioral edge, the psychological fortitude and inner game that underpins this success. The cash buyer has demonstrated the supreme discipline, the rarest commodity in a world saturated with instant gratification, to accumulate and hold this reserve against the siren call of consumerism and market euphoria. This is the identity engine powering the entire strategy. It means he has mastered his desires, rejected the immediate shallow status cues of a consumerist society, and developed an iron will against impulse buying. He is operating on a delay of gratification timeline measured in decades, not quarters, a truly masculine patience that understands the long game cannot be rushed. He sees the status signal of a massive, instantly available cash position, the ultimate financial reserve, the capacity for absolute control, as infinitely more valuable and permanently empowering than the fleeting, debt-fueled status of a new luxury item. The average person's financial strategy is reactive, consumer-driven, and governed by mandatory monthly payments. They buy things that depreciate, and they borrow to acquire marginal assets that require constant upkeep. Their net worth is a calculation of debt against inflated value, a number that can flip negative overnight. The wealthy man's strategy is proactive, opportunity-driven, and governed by leverage over others' distress. He curates a cash reserve that appreciates in value relative to available opportunities during a downturn, and he waits to acquire assets that produce income and appreciate with zero liability. This creates a massive, compounding divergence that widens with every market correction. The common man is chained to the treadmill of debt service, forced to perpetually earn just to stand still. The wealthy man is in the waiting room of exceptional opportunity, free to step into the game only when the stakes are highest. This is the essence of true financial sovereignty, a state of being where your financial decisions are dictated by strategy, not necessity. The generational dynamics are the final, most consequential component, the true measure of the man's legacy. A debt-free asset, a rental portfolio, a producing business, a piece of industrial land, is a pure, unencumbered power unit that can be passed down instantly and effortlessly. It is not a burden, not a risk, and not a complex legal puzzle. It is an instantaneous flow of capital, control, and peace of mind to the next generation, a true foundation built to last. The man who dies with a highly leveraged empire leaves his heirs a complex, fragile puzzle of debt covenants and interest rate risk that can be easily shattered by market volatility or family infighting. The asset is theirs, but the control belongs to the creditors, forcing stressful, urgent financial action. The cash buyer leaves behind bedrock, a financial fortress where the heirs receive 100% of the income and 100% of the control. He transfers not just assets, but the DNA of his financial intelligence, the discipline, the patience, and the veto power that defines true, enduring wealth. He trains his progeny to understand that the greatest power is the power to say no to every mediocre deal and every fleeting status purchase, meticulously waiting for the one magnificent yes that changes the family trajectory forever. This is not about being cheap. It's about being calculatingly powerful, understanding that your greatest currency is your freedom from obligation. It's about recognizing that liquidity is optionality, and optionality is power, and power is the ultimate currency that generates more currency and secures legacy. The world will call them boring, conservative, or even foolish for not leveraging up and taking unnecessary, systemic risks. Let them. They are too busy buying the distressed dreams of the over-leveraged and the panicked assets of the financially weak to care what the indebted masses think or preach. They are the quiet, confident owners of the world, moving with a certainty that only absolute, debt-free financial independence can bestow. Their victory is silent, swift, and absolute. They don't seek attention. They seek assets at a discount and control without compromise. The world misinterprets their strategy because the world is addicted to complexity, noise, and speed, confusing frantic motion with actual progress. The cash buyer understands that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, and patience is the ultimate accelerator, positioning him to catch the falling knife with a surgeon's grip while others are scrambling for the exits, ensuring their personal tragedy becomes his family's windfall. Their balance sheet is a fortress, their mind is a weapon honed by discipline, and their reserve is the golden key that unlocks the best deals the economy has to offer, turning global tragedy into private, multi-generational triumph. Welcome to Luxona, where men refuse to play small.